Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello. Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. Okay, so this is going to be a session done as a part of Pitchtember Fest, uh, Udhyamita, and the session name is Webcraft, and it is organized by both GDS and Hackslash clubs of NIT Patna in with guidance of IC. So we are going to start. So basically, we'll start with very basics, and the basics are, so you can see the roadmap of the session that we're going to go through, and we'll start with the key concepts, that is what is URL, what is HTTP, what is DOM, etc. Then we'll move on to some hands-on session, according to which you will be doing some hands-on session later if you watch it. uh, that will include HTML and CSS, which are the very basics of web development. Further on, we will going into some JavaScript theory and what else and what more you can learn in the future. So let's move on to the key concepts. So first of all, before you understand something, you need to know कि मतलब क्या होता है उस चीज़ का. तो यहाँ पे बेसिक डेफिनेशंस दी हुई हैं, एंड लेट्स सी कि हमको डेफिनेशंस हम लोग कितना ग्रास्प कर पाते हैं. स्टार्टिंग विथ यूआरएल. तो यूआरएल इज अ वेब एड्रेस. कोई भी पेज जो होता है उसके लिए, अगर तुम यहाँ पे टॉप पे देखोगे, मैं पॉइंट कर रहा हूँ, वहाँ पे आप लोग को ऐसे एक एड्रेस दिखेगा, पर ये फिलहाल अभी पीडीएफ का है. लेट्स से मैं क्रोम का वेब स्टोर खोलता हूँ. सो दिस इज द वेब स्टोर. तो वेबसाइट के लिए जो ये एड्रेस होता है, दिस इज द यूआरएल. यहाँ पे एक एग्जांपल यूआरएल भी दिया हुआ है, https://example.com/page, एंड इससे हम लोग एक्सेस कर सकते हैं स्टफ ऑन द इंटरनेट. Moving on to HTTP. So HTTP, if you see this written HTTPS, similarly there's an HTTP. तो it is a language जिससे कि ब्राउज़र एंड सर्वर बात कर पाते हैं ना, कम्युनिकेट कर पाते हैं इंटरनेट पे. सो HTTP में डिफरेंस क्या है? HTTPS इज़ अ सिक्योर वे. अगर कोई पेज सिक्योर नहीं होता है तो यहाँ पे HTTP लिखा होता है, और यूजुअली आपका ब्राउज़र आपको यहाँ पे दिखा देता है कि कनेक्शन इज़ नॉट सिक्योर. So moving on to DOM. Now DOM is a new term to you, and you'll use it a lot in future. So basically it's a blueprint of a website. So how, after you have made a website, a browser, so a browser creates small structures so as to create a blueprint of that web page. जैसे कोई घर होता है तो घर के जब आर्किटेक्चर देखते हो, ब्लूप्रिंट देखते हो, तो यहाँ पे हॉल, यहाँ पे किचन, यहाँ पे बाथरूम है, उस तरह से डॉम काम करता है. एंड बेसिकली डॉम इज़ प्रोग्रामिंग इंटरफेस फॉर वेब डॉक्यूमेंट्स. और डॉम का हम लोग बहुत हेवीली यूज़ करते हैं जावास्क्रिप्ट के थ्रू, एंड लेटर ऑन जो भी और आगे चीज़ें होती हैं, लाइब्रेरीज एंड फ्रेमवर्क्स, ताकि हम चीज़ें मैनिपुलेट कर सकें ऑन योर वेब पेज. Now the next definition is full stack. Before full stack we'll go for front end back end. तो फ्रंट एंड क्या होता है, फ्रंट एंड और बैक एंड फुल स्टैक आपने टर्म सब सुने हुए होंगे. तो फ्रंट एंड होता है वेबसाइट के जो सामने आपको दिख रहा है, फ्रंट पे आपको दिख रहा है कि हाउ डज इट लुक एंड whatever you are able to see like on this website, right? Whatever is in front of you. Now back end is something that is कि like मैं कुछ कर रहा हूँ तो how is this website reacting to it on the behind. जैसे मैं इंस्पेक्ट करूँगा यहाँ पे तो you will be able to see a lot of things, console, source, network, performance, memory, everything. तो बैकएंड में जो कुछ होता है उस पर डिपेंड करता है. नाउ मूविंग ऑन टू फुल स्टैक. तो फ्रंट एंड और बैक एंड दो अलग अलग तरफ की इंजीनियरिंग हो गई एक वेबसाइट के लिए, और जो दोनों तरह की चीज़ें कर सकें इन द कंटेक्स्ट ऑफ वेब डेवलपमेंट. इट मीन्स हैविंग स्किल्स एंड एक्सपर्टीज इन बोथ फ्रंट एंड बैक एंड of web application. So that would be full stack. Now basic definition समझ में आ गई है. तो ये सब जो छोटे मोटे की कंसेप्ट होते हैं कि वेबसाइट काम कैसे कर रही है, वेबसाइट में क्या हो रहा है, आगे क्या हो रहा है, पीछे क्या हो रहा है, डेटा कहाँ से आ रहा है, ये सारी चीज़ें पहले से पता होनी चाहिए बिफोर यू स्टार्ट वेब डेवलपमेंट. So what are the basics? You're going to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then further on you will learn some React, Node, MongoDB, other things, front end, back end, and database. Before we go into that, let's start with HTML. HTML क्या होता है? तो HTML is a okay. So अगर अब तक कोई वॉइस इश्यू हो तो उसके लिए सॉरी. तो HTML is a language used to create web pages. मतलब it's like a TypeScript language. मतलब TypeScript बोल रहा हूँ, ऐसा लैंग्वेज जिससे तुम सबसे बेसिक स्केलेटन लिखते हो किसी भी वेबसाइट का. तो जैसे कि उसमें डिफरेंट टैग्स होते हैं जो कि हम लोग आगे डिस्कस करेंगे हैंडल पार्ट में, जैसे कि हेडिंग्स, पैराग्राफ्स, लिंक्स और सॉरी. तो हाँ, तो बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर वेब पेज का बनाता है ना. हम लोग सिर्फ HTML बेसिक्स मतलब HTML ही नहीं करेंगे, साथ में CSS भी करेंगे. तो CSS स्टाइल्स, CSS का काम होता है स्टाइलिंग का, कास्केडिंग स्टाइल शीट जिसका फुल फॉर्म होता है. तो स्टाइलिंग मतलब कि मतलब बेसिक अगर मैं HTML एक में लिख के दिखाऊँ तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल VS कोड अगर तुम्हारे पास ओपन हो तो ओपन कर लीजिए. एंड लेट्स से मैंने डेस्कटॉप पे एक फोल्डर क्रिएट कर लिया है. लेट्स क्रिएट अ फोल्डर वेब. ठीक है. नाउ हम लोग यहाँ पे जाएंगे, फाइल, ओपन फोल्डर. we will go to desktop web. We selected the folder. यहाँ पे फोल्डर खुल जाएगा. now let's create index.html. now html. तो बेसिकली जब हम लोग HTML लिख रहे होते हैं तो हमारा सबसे पहले टैग है HTML टैग है, डॉक्यूमेंट टाइप HTML, और ये इसका एंड टैग है. दो मोटे मोटे पार्ट होते हैं, एक हेड होता है एंड एक हो गई उसकी बॉडी. व्हेन यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट हेड उसमें आता है तुम्हारा टाइटल. टाइटल मतलब कि कोई वेब पेज है तो उसकी यहाँ पे क्या लिखा हुआ है, जैसे लिखा करूँ वेब स्टोर एक्सटेंशंस. तो वैसे ही हम लोग अपने पेज का क्या चाह रहे हैं. तो हमें भी टाइटल है फर्स्ट. ठीक है ना. अगर मैं बॉडी में पैराग्राफ टैग है ये P, हेलो, hello, we'll start with hello. Okay, now I'll go live. Now I am able to go live directly. You can see this hello. This is very small because normally एक paragraph का size इतना ही होता है. But you can see it's very plain. Let me add other things. for example h1. This is a heading tag. Hi. I'll also add an what I can add an anchor tag, and an anchor tag I can write click here. I can just do this. I'll explain this all this later, and let's copy this link and put it here. Target blank. We'll save. Now you'll be able to see this all high written, and when I click here it acts as a link, but you can see it looks very plain. For example, if we wanted this to look much more stylish and look like an actual website, तो हम लोग CSS यूज करते हैं. तो बिफोर वी गो ऑन टू CSS थोड़ी बेसिक चीज़ें डिस्कस कर लेते हैं. तो स्टार्टिंग विथ H1. तो H1 when you write H1 तो उसमें तुम जो भी लिखोगे ये हेडिंग टैग है. अगर मैं H2 करूँगा यहाँ पे भी हम थोड़ा लिख सकते हैं. Let's just copy this. B3 H3 H4 H4 5 5 6 6. You can see how it is working. कैसे वो हेडिंग्स ऊपर छोटे से बड़ा हो रहा है, क्योंकि मैं H1 सबसे बड़ा होता है, H6 H7 तक जाता है. After this, let's comment this out. To comment, you can press Ctrl and backslash. Now after this, we have a paragraph tag where you can write long texts. Let's just copy this about HTML and paste here. Ctrl save. Tab. So you can see it is written over here. अब अगर हम इसमें से हम लोग कुछ पार्ट अनकमेंट कर दें तो let me just clear this and this. So you can see compared to that the heading tag how it is different. So basic difference is it is boldish and this font is a bit bigger than these. Now moving on to some other tags. Anchor tag. Now anchor tag is when you have to add an hyperlink. कोई चीज़ होती है इस पर तुम अब फिलहाल तो सब बटन है, लेकिन let's Google something. Apple. So these are URLs, right? When you click on this underline shows and you're able to go to another website. So let me add an anchor tag. Click here and href is equals to control save. Now see, when I click here nothing happens because there is no reference to where it should go, so it brings it back to the same page. Now if I add anything here, like maybe link to this page that I already copied, so this will take us to this page, but the problem is कि वो पेज गायब हो गया क्योंकि मैं उस पेज से आया था. And when I put target as blank and save it, तो जब मैं क्लिक कर रहा हूँ तो नेक्स्ट पेज पे चला जा रहा है. ठीक है, तो ये हो गया एंकर टैग. Now let's move on to image. Now अगर तुम्हें इमेज ऐड करना है तो तुम कैसे ऐड करोगे? ठीक है, तो इमेज के लिए तुम्हें एक सोर्स चाहिए इमेज का, राइट? तो अभी तो let's do something. Let's download an image and store it here, and then we'll use that image in our website. So what image can I use? Okay, let's go to the Apple search. Let's go to images. Let's save this image onto running system web here, right? Okay, so we save this here. Now you can see it is present over here, so we can simply write download.jpg and save this. Now when we go here, you can see the images here, right? That's how you add an image. Now we'll move on to button. Now button is an important part of a website. There are multiple buttons here. See collection button. Even these can be called buttons. These things and these. So to make sure, okay, I can see something. So when we add a button, let's say this this is a button. Control save. You can see this is a button, and let's also show you what is a div. So a div basically makes a box. You cannot actually see it, but you can also write text here. Let me just copy this. Control C, Control V, Control save. So yes, you can see that when you take a look at it, it almost looks same, but I'll show you the difference in some time. And basically div can be used in a very beautiful way, like loops. If you have done coding, div ke andar div ke andar div. So when you are creating a page like this, you are creating multiple divs. Like I have created for example this as a div, and I've created smaller divs here so that I can make an even smaller divs in there. I'll show you. Sorry for that. Okay, so let's I've shown you some of the things that you should know before you start making something. So let's know what is this inspect thing. Now before I start, I'll just lower it down. So let's see. I can see almost what is the area an object is holding. Let's see, do this. You can see this now when I uh, click on the hell. Okay, let me try again. The first hello, you can see here the amount of margin it has, the amount of space it's taking in pixels. Now for every for image there is no margin, but that's the dimension of the image. For the paragraph tag, you can see here, and it's also highlighted here. You can see there is a code acting behind the scenes, and you can see there's a margin of 16 pixels. While when you go to div, there is no margin. So you should see the difference, that even though they are same, there's a default margin added to the paragraph. Now when you click on here, it is auto, because there's also text decoration. You can see underline already, and cursor is already pointer. So when you click on move to this, it is already a pointer. Well, here it is not. You can see there's some border, there's some padding, and there's that. Now you can manipulate this margin, border, padding, height, all these things, and all these things comes in CSS. Now I'll show you some CSS. So let's just comment this all. Said I'll just comment this, and then so let's first start with a button. A button is the easiest example. I'll show you how. So click, let's subscribe. So I guess you have all seen what a subscribe buttons looks like. So when you are creating style for a element, you have to put a class for it. Let's say button, sub button, right? So then you have to create another file, style.css. Now you can see index.html is here and CSS is here. Now I'll write dot because it's class. and sub button, and then I'll do this so it's exact, and then I can manipulate things like background color. What if, let's I say I want it to be red color, that is a text color, I want it to be white. I want padding of, let's say, 16 pixels, and let's go with this. Now I have saved this, but see, there's nothing changed. So what did we forget? If you look here, we have no connection between what is style changes and index HTML. So for that, we'll go to here and how to, let's see what Google says, how to link a CSS file to HTML. Now, never hesitate to search anything when you are in confusion, because you don't have to remember a lot of things because you already know. See, external way is you have to use link like this. So you have to write href for the file name and rel is equal to style sheets. We'll do the same. Href equals style.css and rel is equal to style sheet. Control save, and you can see the changes. Now it still does not look good enough, so we can set font size, let's say large. Now I think the padding on left and right should be 16 pixels. The top needs to improve though, so we can just say padding top, let's say 8 pixels, padding bottom as well as also 8 pixels, looks a bit better. Let's make font width. So for this font width, it's how bold your font is. Let's say 600. It's a bit bold. Now another thing that a lot of people use for buttons, so you can see here, they're curved. So you can add border radius. Let's say left, right, 16 pixels. Control save, and you can see it has some curve. Let's make it even more curvy. Let's make it 24 pixels. It looks much better. Now another thing that you would want is cursor pointer. Now you can see whenever I move it here, now when see how this button is reacting it when I hover it on it, right? And we don't see it here, right? So let's get another button and I will show you. There's an example. Control C, Control V. Now next, let this next button be tweet, and let's change this. Now I'll show you something called as ID. Now when you create an ID, it's unique, and while you use class, you can use multiple classes on an object, while an ID is unique. So let's make a unique ID for tweet button. You can use both of them, but I personally prefer class over ID. Let's say this. Now we have a tweet button. Sorry again, tweet button ID. Now when you are talking about ID, you can directly this ID. Tweet button. How to add this. Sorry for that. So here we use a hashtag, while there we use a dot. Not too much of a difference. Let's copy most of the things. Let's change the background color to background color to aqua. Don't forget these semicolon or it will give an error. And damn, you can also use RGB if you are familiar with it. Let's say 230, 11, 34. Now you can pretty much use it using this. Okay, that looks very. Now I can make it a bit better. Let's remove the border radius. I don't want border radius. I also don't want the border, so I will just mention border none. Control save. I'll add a couple more pixels here and here. Bam. Let's make font size as 16 pixels. There, 24. 400. I'm just doing this so that it looks a bit different. 20 pixels. Okay, it looks good enough. Now let's go to the important thing, hover. Okay, now like that. When you want to add hover effect, you can just do the same thing. Tweet button hover. Now you can add hover effects. Whenever you hover it, what will happen? Let's say opacity. What is opacity? कितना दिख रहा है, कितना परसेंट तुम दिखाना चाह रहे हो. Let's say I want it to show only 0.8. Now you can see whenever I hover it, this is basically what you want, but you can see it's a bit slow and you can see a little bit of transition, while here it's very instant and it does not look very good. So we can add transition of, let's say, 300. Control save. About 3000. Transition duration 300 milliseconds. That's, now you can see the smooth transition, but it's too smooth, I guess. Let's make it 100. Yes, good enough. See the difference when you add some hover effects. Now let's add some margin. Margin in general, let's say. Now we have used pixels enough. Now I'll show you something else which is called rem, that I like using a lot. One rem is equal to 16 pixels, but if you can change the value of rem initially in the CSS, and let's, okay, control save. You can see the margin from all the sides and this as well. Now I have shown you how to use CSS in buttons. Another very cool thing that you can add CSS to is a div. So let's create a circle. This is how you write a comment. Just that. I'll add class circle. Go to here. Dot circle. Let's set the background color to be Bollywood because it looks cool. Let's set the height to be 15 rem and width to be 15 rem as well. Let's make it even. Then add border radius to be half of 15, that is 17.15 rem. Control save, and you can see there's a circle. Similarly, we can make different shapes using div. Now, a funny thing, I should not say funny, but very important thing is you can do multiple things. Let's add a square in it. Class square, right? And let's add the text. Am I a square or a circle? Mark. So I'll just make it. So first of all, dot square. Again, background color. Let's add blue violet. Let's make height this to be like 8 rem. Width as well as width. Now you can see. So for that, a very big question that everyone who starts using div is how to center a div. I think that is the most Googled question of HTML personally. So let's just display flex. Let's you can see that I have centered it horizontally. Now I have to center it vertically. Maybe I can try margin auto. Save. Okay. Okay, so I was able to center it pretty much. Margin auto, what it does is it automatically adds equal margin on both the sides while I have already centered this. Now let's center what is written in it. So let's just say text the line center, control save. And color to be white, control save. As you can see that I have made a circle that holds a square that holds a text. So you can pretty much make a lot of things using divs. Now our final exercise with HTML and CSS will be a bit more difficult than this. So I'll create page.html. Okay. Page.html. Let's close this behavior. Now we will try to create this 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 part of the page. I guess you can see. So for this we'll need a lot of things, and let's start with the basic. We'll need a box, and then we need another box for the image. We can add image. There's some border radius to it. There's also some hover effect to it. Then there's a title. Then there are some numbers and star and some icons, and then there's another text. So let's try to make this. So for that, let's start doc type HTML, HTML head, body, tab, title to be element. Now let's start working. First of all, let's make a box. So that box will be a div. Then we'll need an image. After that, we'll need another div for the second box, where we can add h1 heading. Let's make it h2 rather than that. Then we can add another, I guess, a paragraph. We'll add another div because there are some images. There's a div. Okay, not that. Div image, another div, another image. So that is pretty much the structure of your element that I've created. Now let's start. So for image, I'm going to simply use the download.jpg. I don't want to download this. Let's add a title, apple sauce, something like that. Then we can add a rating, let's say 4.2. We can add that number of people, let's say 3 million. Then best apple sauce you will ever consume. Okay, so I've created this. Now let's export this and go live. So for this we have pretty much created nothing. So let's start styling it a bit so that we can reach there. We'll also need these icons. Let me just inspect this. SVG. Let's copy element. Let's just replace this image by this. Control save. Let's see. Yes, I can see the star. Now let's search for this info. I can see the info. It's a button. Let's copy this as well, because those two are not directly available to us. Control save. So yes, we can just change that CSS for this button. Now let's start. So what we want is this. So let's create page.css. Let's link it. Never forget to link it. Link rel equals style. Hello. अभी चेक नहीं हुआ. Okay, sorry for that audio issue. So let's start with the image. Basically, let's start with this div. Class is equals to background. Let's go to css.bcg. Let's start bcg. Background color, it is gray. Well, not really gray. It's somewhat of this color. Let's save. Let's see. Close enough. Let's also decide its width to be, that's 16 rem, I guess. Let's make it 20. 20. Good enough. Let's add some border radius. Let's say 1.2 rem. Again, looks good enough to me. 0.8. I think that would be good enough. So now let's move on to the image. Class main image. Save dot main image. Let's set its height to be 12 rem. 6 actually. While width to be, the width of background is 20 rem. Let's make this 16 rem. Let's add a padding of 2 rem. So let's make this flex. Okay, so you know, sorry for the audio issue. I'm trying to just resize this image. I'll not put a height to it because it is making that image look bad. Okay, I think one of the things that could help us would be putting this image in another div. Let's just do that and place it here. Control save. Okay, that helps. Now let's go to page.css and now we can do justify content center. Control save. Okay, I'm a bit confused. Let's just do this. Control save. Control save. Let equals to 14 gram. It's more of a trial error thing. Let's just remove this. Delete and decrease this rather than that. 12 gram. Not 12 gram. 15 gram. I think makes sense. 14 gram. 1.5. This looks pretty much good. Let's see. Inspect. This H2 already has some margin and that's an issue because only top margin is there but not bottom margin. So we'll have to change the margin of that. Go to HTML, add a class, heading, margin bottom should be just maybe 6 pixels. Control C. Yes, I have done it. Margin top though and just make it 0.8. Okay. Now, okay, so I used this flex and did not talk about it because I was waiting for it to do it here. What this is. Okay, for before that, I would like to just simply move all this in a div as well and this as well so that there are no issues while I'm trying to center it or anything. Control B, Control C. So there are 4 divs basically inside this div. Internet issue on my side, and due to that and also some time constraints, I will wrap this up very quickly, and I'll probably not be able to discuss some of the things like JavaScript and more. But I would love to just pause for you to pause this and just read this out and research it on the internet. And also these are for a really good brief of HTML CSS and a more in-depth knowledge. You should search HTML and CSS full course and watch this full video. And for other coding resources, I would really recommend you to go to freecodecamp.org on YouTube and just go through the YouTube playlists for web development. You will find JavaScript, React, Next, Tailwind, Node, everything there. So before that, I'll just complete this. So okay, info button. So info button I was just completing. So let's say width is 1 rem and height is 1.2 rem. Control save. Okay, so the and the button, I think there's a, where's the button? There's an icon that I need to change the height of. Let's try to do it here. 16, 16, Control Z. Okay, it does work out a little bit. Let's just change the blue box to see that as well. Four, five, and this. Okay, I'm not able to figure this out. The switchy thing is a bit difficult, but let's just assume that it looks like this. Okay, I can do some things. I can uh, simply background color to be none and border to be none as well. Control save this, and save. Maybe I can just copy this color. And okay, I can at least see it. Not as good I was able to, that I should be able to, but okay. I think I figured it out a little bit. I should type that info as well. Save. Yes, it looks not that bad. And I think we are almost done. Let's go to the HTML page. Did we set a height for this? No, we didn't. So what is creating this? Let's go here, check this out. Let's remove this so it looks more like this. Class body.